My parents signed my land over to my brother while I was in Chicago closing a deal. They didn't call me. They didn't ask. They waited until I was 1,000 miles away and moved my name off the deed. When I came home, they expected tears. They expected shouting. They expected the version of me that begs. They got none of that. I walked into their living room, sat down and smiled. My brother had been smiling when I walked in. He wasn't smiling anymore. My father said, "Why are you so calm?" I said, "Because the property you gave away was never what you thought it was." And by the end of that sentence, so did everyone else in the room. Let me go back to Chicago. My name is Nate. I am 35 years old. I work in business development for a logistics company. I close deals, I travel. And on a Tuesday afternoon in October, while I was sitting in a conference room on the 14th floor of a building downtown, my phone buzzed in my pocket. The meeting ran another 40 minutes. I didn't check the phone. When it ended, I shook hands, collected my laptop, and walked to the hallway. I pulled out my phone. One text from my cousin Marcus. "Did you know your parents are at the county office right now signing your land over to your brother?" I read it 3 times. I walked to the window at the end of the hall and stood there with the phone in my hand. The city was still moving below me. Traffic, pedestrians, the lake in the distance. Everything in the world was exactly where it was supposed to be, except my name on a piece of property. I pressed my thumb against the edge of the phone case hard enough to leave a dent. I read the text a 4th time. Then I locked the screen and put the phone in my pocket. I didn't text back. I didn't call my parents. I didn't call my brother Todd. I walked 6 blocks to my hotel in the October cold with my hands in my pockets and my jaw tight. I unlocked the room, stepped inside, and left the suitcase by the wall where I had dropped it that morning. I didn't turn on the lights right away. I sat on the edge of the bed in the half-dark with the curtains still closed. The air conditioner hummed. A siren passed on the street below. The room smelled like hotel soap and carpet cleaner and the particular emptiness of a place nobody lives in. I sat there for a long time, not panicking, processing. My parents were at a county office right now, removing my name from a piece of land my grandfather left me. They didn't call. They didn't ask. They just signed it. They chose Tuesday because I was in Chicago, not because it was convenient, because I was gone. Let me tell you about the land, both pieces, because the story doesn't work without both. My grandfather was a construction worker, 40 years pouring foundations and framing walls. He saved money quietly, without anyone watching. When he died, he left me 3 acres on Maple Road, open land with a fence along the north side, an old barn, a gravel road that connects it to the main road. That's the piece everyone knows about. The piece nobody knows about is behind it. In 1987, my grandfather bought 7 acres of wooded land directly behind the 3-acre lot. Paid cash, no bank. A private sale placed in a trust with me as the sole beneficiary. I was 11 when the trust was created. I didn't know about it until I was 17. And we were sitting on his porch on a Saturday afternoon. We had just finished stacking firewood. He was in his chair. I was on the steps with sawdust on my jeans. His hands were cracked at the knuckles from decades of concrete and cold mornings. "I left you 2 pieces of land, Nate. The 3 acres out front that everyone knows about, and 7 behind it that nobody does. The 7 is in a trust with your name on it, has been since you were a boy. Don't tell anyone, not your parents, not your brother, not until you need to." I looked at him. "Why are you telling me and not Todd?" He was quiet for a moment. He looked at his hands, then at me. "Because your brother takes what's given. You protect what's earned." Then he said the thing that mattered most. "The only road to the front 3 runs through the back 7. So if anyone ever tries to take the front piece, the back piece is the lock, and you hold the key." I didn't fully understand at 17. I was a kid sitting on porch steps with sawdust on my jeans, listening to an old man talk about land and locks and keys. It sounded important but distant, like something that would matter someday but not today. Today was that someday. The gravel access road enters from Maple Road and crosses the 7-acre parcel diagonally before reaching the 3-acre lot. It is the only vehicle access. Without that road, the 3 acres are landlocked. No car can reach them, no truck, no contractor, no equipment. The only way in is on foot through dense woods and a creek bed. Since my grandfather died, I have been paying property taxes on both parcels from my own account. The 7 acres go through a P.O. box he set up decades ago. Nobody in my family knows about the trust. Nobody knows about the 7 acres. Nobody knows about the road. Back in the hotel room, I picked up my phone. I stared at the screen for a moment. Marcus's text was still in my notifications. I swiped past it and made 2 calls. First, Phil Hartman, real estate attorney. I used him once before for a title question. Phil, my parents are apparently transferring a piece of property that was left to me in my grandfather's will. 3 acres on Maple Road. Can they do that? Depends on how the will was structured and whether probate was completed. What do you know about the paperwork? I know they're at the county office right now signing it over to my brother. I'll pull the records first thing in the morning. I hung up, and I stared at the ceiling. The air conditioner clicked off, and the room got quiet. I could hear muffled voices from the room next door, someone laughing. Normal life happening 10 feet from a man whose family was stealing his inheritance. I made the second call. Dan Kessler, surveyor. Dan, I need you to pull the plat map on the 2 parcels on Maple Road, the 3 acres on the front and the 7 behind it. I need to know exactly where the access road falls. The gravel road off Maple? Yeah, the one that goes from the main road to the 3-acre lot. I'll pull it from the county database. Give me a few hours. I set the phone on the nightstand. I took off my shoes. I lay on the bed in my work clothes and stared at the ceiling and waited for the morning to come. I didn't sleep well. I dreamed about the porch, the sawdust. Ate my grandfather's hands. Dan called back at 8:15 the next morning. I was sitting on the edge of the bed with hotel coffee that tasted like cardboard. I pulled the plat map. The gravel access road enters from Maple Road and crosses the back parcel, the 7 acres, before reaching the front lot. If the back 7 are separately owned, the front 3 are completely landlocked. No legal vehicle access without an easement from whoever owns the back parcel. That's what I thought. Who owns the back 7? I do. Dan was quiet for a moment. I could hear him processing it. Then he said, then whoever your parents just gave the front 3 to just received a piece of land they can't reach. Phil called 30 minutes later. The transfer was done. 1 page. No notification to me. But the trust on the 7 acres was untouchable. A separate document. My name since 1987. I sat on the edge of the bed. 2 calls, 2 confirmations. My brother had 3 acres he couldn't drive to, and the hole in my parents' plan was 7 acres wide. I booked a flight home for Thursday. I had 2 days. I spent them reviewing the trust documents Phil sent me. I traced the access road on Dan's plat map. I followed it with my finger from Maple Road across the 7 acres to the 3-acre lot. I looked at the property lines until I could draw them from memory on a napkin. By Thursday morning, the anger from Tuesday night had converted into something more useful. It had been real anger, the kind that sits in your chest and tightens your jaw and keeps you up until 2 a.m. But by Wednesday morning, the anger had changed shape. It became information, options. A decision made calmly in a hotel room 1,000 miles from the living room where I was about to deliver it. I knew exactly what I was walking into, and I knew exactly what I was carrying. But before I tell you about the living room, let me tell you what Marcus told me on the phone Wednesday night, because this part matters. 3 months before the transfer, there was a family dinner at my parents' house. I wasn't there. Marcus was. Todd brought it up at the table between the salad and the main course. Casual. Once the land situation gets sorted out, I'm going to build on it. Nobody asked what sorted out meant. Nobody said, that's Nate's land. My father nodded. Todd kept talking. 2 rental units, monthly income. Karen was on her phone showing my mother house layouts during dessert. They were already spending the income. Now Nate, Marcus told me, 3 months before they signed anything, and nobody at that table said your name. That's when I understood. The county office visit wasn't an impulse. It was a delivery date. The flight home was 3 hours. The drive from the airport was 40 minutes. I pulled into my parents' driveway at 6:15 p.m. Thursday evening. Their car was there. Todd's truck was parked on the street. He was already inside. He had been coming to the house more often since the transfer. Proximity as gratitude. The same performance that got him the land in the first place? I walked through the front door without knocking. I grew up in this house. The living room looked the same as always. My father in his recliner with the lamp on beside him. My mother in the kitchen doorway with a dish towel over her shoulder. Todd on the couch with his boots still on. His wife Karen in the armchair with her phone. The TV was on low. A plate of cookies on the coffee table that nobody was eating. The room had the energy of people who had done something they knew was wrong, but had spent a week talking themselves into believing it was reasonable. My mother stood when she saw me, surprise first, then a smile she assembled in real time. The smile she uses when she needs the room to feel warm. "Nate, you're home early. How was Chicago?" "Chicago was fine." I walked to the center of the room and sat down in the wooden chair by the bookshelf, the hard one nobody ever chooses. I chose it because it faced everyone, and because I didn't come to be comfortable. I didn't take off my coat. My father noticed the coat. He looked at it, then at my face, then at the coat again. His eyebrows moved slightly. People don't keep their coats on in their parents' house. Not unless they came to say something and leave. "You look calm," he said. "I am." Todd shifted on the couch. He put one ankle on his knee, then put it back down. His boot scraped the coffee table. "Your mother and I want to talk to you about the property." "I know, Marcus told me." The room changed. My mother's smile collapsed in sections. Todd sat forward. Karen locked her phone and set it face down on the armrest. The TV murmured to nobody. "Marcus had no business telling you that," my father said. "Marcus saw you at the county office signing my land to my brother. He texted me because he thought I should know." "He should have minded his own business." "It is my business, Dad. It's my land." "Oh, nor it was." My mother stepped forward from the kitchen doorway, coffee cup in both hands. Not because it was hot, because her hands needed something to hold. "Nate, we weren't trying to go behind your back. You weren't using the land. It's been sitting there for years. Todd has plans for it. He's been maintaining it. It made sense. He mowed it twice in 2 years. I've been paying the property taxes for 6 years. Every year. On time. From my own account." She took a sip, set the cup down, picked it back up. "It's not about taxes." "Then what's it about?" "Todd is here. He has a family. He's part of this community. You moved away." "I moved to Chicago. I own a phone. I own a car. I own property here. Or I did until you signed it away while I was in a meeting." My father leaned forward in his recliner. His hands went to the armrests. His reading glasses sat on the end table beside him. He always reaches for them when he wants to look like a man delivering a serious judgment. "Your grandfather would have wanted the land to go to someone who would use it. Todd is here. He's local. He has a plan. Grandpa did want the land to go to someone who would use it, Dad. That's why he gave it to me. In his will. With my name on it. Not Todd's. Not yours. Mine. He wrote the will. He chose the name. And you went to the county office while I was out of state and overrode a dead man's decision because it didn't match yours." My father's hand moved to the reading glasses. He picked them up, put them on, took them off, set them down. His hands were searching for something they couldn't find. "That's not what happened." On Tuesday at 2:47, Marcus texted me from the county building. He saw you in the records department. You used a quitclaim deed. 1 page. No phone call to me. Tell me what part I got wrong." He didn't answer. The recliner creaked. "Did you call me before you signed it?" My mother answered. "We didn't want to bother you." "You didn't want to bother me? Or you didn't want me to say no?" Neither answered. The clock on the wall ticked. The TV played a commercial to an empty audience. "This isn't about choosing favorites," my mother said quietly. "Then why did you wait until I was 1,000 miles away?" She looked at the floor. She didn't have an answer for that. Not one she was willing to say out loud. Todd spoke for the first time. He had been sitting with his arms crossed, watching like a man in the audience of a game he expected his team to win. His arms uncrossed as he leaned forward. "And I'm going to build on that land, Nate. 2 rental units. I already told Bill Weaver I want them up by summer. I already told the guys at work I'm getting into rentals. I put a $500 deposit down for a site assessment next week. I've been sketching plans on graph paper for a month. This is happening." "Has Bill been to the property?" "Not yet. He's coming next week. Has he looked at the survey? The access? He'll do all that when he comes out. He's going to have a problem. Todd's knee stopped bouncing. What kind of problem? I looked at him, then at my father, then at my mother. 3 people sitting in a room believing they had pulled something off. Grandpa didn't just leave me 3 acres. I paused, let it sit. The clock on the wall clicked once. Nobody filled it. He left me 10. Todd's boots scraped the floor. My mother's fingers curled around the edge of the counter. The 3 you know about, and 7 behind them that you don't. The back 7 acres are in a trust. My name, sole beneficiary, set up in 1987. My father's hand slid off the armrest. Slowly, Todd said, even if that's true, it doesn't change anything. I have the 3. I'll build on the 3. You can try? What does that mean? The gravel road, the only way to drive to the 3-acre lot. That road crosses my 7 acres. The TV sound was gone now. Someone had muted it, or maybe nobody could hear it anymore. Without an easement from me, the 3 acres are landlocked. No vehicle access. Todd stopped moving. My mother didn't reach for the coffee. You're making this up. Call Dan Kessler, surveyor. He pulled the plat map 2 days ago. My mother's voice was thin. I know, why didn't you ever tell us? Because Grandpa told me not to. Not until I needed to. You've been hiding this for years. I've been protecting it. That's why he told me, and not Todd. Todd flinched at that. His jaw moved like he was about to speak, and then changed his mind. I almost said something else. Something about the porch. About a 17-year-old kid who didn't understand yet. My hand tightened on the arm of the chair. Then I let it go. For a second, I wondered if I had this wrong. If Dan's plat map had a mistake. If there was an access point I had missed. Then Todd pulled out his phone, and the doubt left. His thumb hovered over the screen for a second. Then he pressed. I'm calling Bill. Put it on speaker. He pressed the button. The ringing filled the living room. Everyone heard it. Abahar, the ring sounded different when the whole room is listening and nobody is breathing. Bill, it's Todd. About the Maple Road site assessment. There's a complication with the access. What kind? I spoke from the chair across the room. The access road crosses a separate parcel, 7 acres, separately owned. No easement. Who am I speaking to? Nate Mitchell. I own the 7 acres. Pause. A long one. Bill breathing on the other end. The clock ticking on the wall. Karen looking at Todd. Todd looking at his phone. My parents looking at nothing. If there's no easement, I can't bring equipment in. I can't grade. I can't build. The lot is effectively landlocked. Todd's voice cracked slightly. There has to be another option. What about coming in from the north side? Is there a road on the north side? Todd looked at me. I shook my head once. No, Todd said. Then there's no other option. Without legal vehicle access, I can't work the site. Nobody can. Can we get an easement? Todd said. You'd need the landowner's written permission. Everyone in the room looked at me. I let the silence sit. Todd blinked. My mother looked at my father. He didn't look back. I haven't decided yet, Bill said. Todd, call me back when it's resolved. The line went dead. Nobody spoke. What do you want, Nate? I want you to sit with what you did. This is not what your grandfather would have wanted. He wasn't a prophet. He just knew his children. My mother said, he wouldn't have wanted us fighting. Then you shouldn't have taken it. I stood up. I zipped my coat. The coat I never took off. When Todd gives back the 3 acres, I'll open the road. Until then, he owns a field. I walked to the door. At the door, I turned back for one look. My father in his recliner with his hands in his lap. My mother at the counter with both hands gripping the edge. Todd on the couch, phone face down, staring at the carpet. Karen was looking at Todd. Then she said, quietly, to nobody in particular, "You told me this was settled." Nobody answered her. Nobody said, wait. Nobody said, sit down. Nobody said, let's talk about this. I walked out. The door closed behind me. Through the living room window, I could see the shapes of people who had not moved. The house looked smaller from the outside than it felt from inside. It always does when you stop being afraid of the people in it. I sat in my car for a minute. The keys were in my hand. The driveway was dark, then I drove home. Marcus called that night. I was on my couch with a glass of water and the folder of trust documents on the coffee table beside me. How did it go? It went. Did you tell them about the 7? Yeah. All of it? The trust? The road? All of it. Todd called his contractor on speaker. Contractor confirmed the lot is landlocked. Then I said I haven't decided about the easement and walked out. You said that? In front of everybody. In front of everybody. What did your dad do? He said I was making it up. Then I gave him the surveyor's name and he stopped talking. He sat down in his recliner and his hands went to his lap. He didn't know what to do with them. And your mom? She asked why I never told them. I said because Grandpa told me not to. What did she say to that? Nothing. She held onto the kitchen counter and looked at the floor. And Todd? Todd tried to fight it. He said there had to be another way in. He asked about the north side. He asked Bill on the phone. Bill said no road, no work, no build. Then Todd asked about the easement, and Bill said he would need my permission. And I said I haven't decided. Marcus let out a breath. How long did you let the silence sit before you said that? About 5 seconds. 5 seconds in a quiet room is a long time. It felt longer. Marcus was quiet for a moment, then he laughed. Not mean. The laugh of a man who watched a family run on bad assumptions and just heard them hit a wall they didn't know was there. Your parents were so confident at the county office, Nate. I was there for my own thing, a permit for the garage. Eden, I was sitting in the waiting area when I saw them walk in. Your dad was in his good jacket. Your mom had her purse on her arm like she was going to church. They went straight to the records counter. No hesitation. They knew exactly where to go. Did they see you? No, I was behind the partition, but I could hear them. Your dad told the clerk he wanted to file a deed transfer. The clerk asked for the parcel number, and your dad read it off a piece of paper he had in his shirt pocket. He had it ready, written down. He'd been carrying it. What did Mom do? She stood next to him. She asked the clerk how long it would take to process. The clerk said 3 to 5 business days. Your mom said, why, that's fine. We just want it done. Like she was picking up dry cleaning. And Todd? Todd wasn't inside, but his truck was in the parking lot. He drove them. He sat in the truck the whole time. I saw him when I left. He was on his phone, smiling. He drove the getaway car, pretty much. They thought they solved it. They made it worse. A lot worse. Your grandfather knew, didn't he? He wasn't a prophet. He just knew his children. In some families, that's the same thing. I looked at the folder on the coffee table, the trust document, the plat map, my grandfather's handwriting on a piece of paper from 1987. He was 30 years ahead of everyone in that living room tonight. Not because he could see the future, because he could see the people. 2 days later, Todd called. Different voice, smaller, careful. The voice of a man calling someone he needs something from and doesn't know how to ask. Hey, can we talk about the easement? We can talk. What would it take for you to give access? Give back the 3 acres. Sign them back at the county office. Same process Dad used to take them. Then we talk about access. Come on, Nate. There has to be another way. There isn't. What if we share the property? Split it. It was never yours to split. Grandpa left it to me. That's not fair. You had graph paper sketches on your fridge, Todd. You told your coworkers you were getting into rentals. You had a contractor lined up with a deposit paid before I even knew the land was gone. You weren't surprised by the gift. You were waiting for it. You drove Mom and Dad to the county office. Silence. He didn't deny the last part. What if I keep the 3 and pay you for the easement? Not for sale. Everything is for sale. And Nate, not this. Name a number. There's no number. The road stays closed until the land comes back. I'll get a lawyer. He'll tell you the same thing Dan Kessler told me. The road crosses my parcel. The trust is airtight. Your lawyer will charge you $300 an hour to say what I'm telling you for free. That's your money. Spend it however you want. You planned this. You set this whole thing up. I didn't plan anything. I owned the land. I paid the taxes. I kept the documents. I paused. You and Dad planned the theft. When you pulled it off, I already had what I needed. I just didn't ignore things. He didn't respond for a long time. I could hear a TV in the background at his house. Karen's voice asking something I couldn't make out. Todd covered the phone for a second, then came back. "Oh, how long do I have to decide?" "As long as you want, but the property taxes come due every year for land you can't use. That clock is yours." This is leverage. This is what happens when you take something from someone who holds more than you knew. I hung up. I set the phone on the coffee table next to the folder of trust documents. My grandfather's signature was on the third page. Small handwriting, careful, the kind of signature a man who measures things for a living puts on something that matters. Over the next 3 weeks, Todd tried everything except the one thing that would work. First week, he called another contractor, a guy named Dave who did cheaper work. Dave drove out, looked at the property from Maple Road, saw the gravel road, and called Todd back that afternoon. Same answer. "Oh no, can't get equipment across without an easement." Todd hung up on him. Second week, he called the county about alternative access from the north side. They told him the north boundary borders private woodland with no road and no right-of-way. Third week, the graph paper came off the refrigerator. He called Bill and canceled the site assessment. He stopped mentioning rentals at work. The $500 deposit was gone. The future he had been telling everyone about quietly disappeared. Marcus told me about a family dinner during the second week. My parents' house. Todd and Karen were there. Marcus was there. He said Todd barely spoke. He sat at the table and moved food around his plate. Karen didn't look at him. My father tried to start a conversation about the weather. My mother served dinner in silence. Nobody mentioned the land. Nobody mentioned my name, but the land was the only thing in the room. At one point, Marcus said, Todd's phone rang. He looked at the screen. It was Dave, the second contractor. Todd let it ring. It rang 6 times and went to voicemail. Karen looked at him. Todd put the phone face down on the table. "That was the contractor?" Karen asked. "It doesn't matter," Todd said. "None of them can get in?" "No." Karen set her fork down. She looked at my father. "You said this would be simple." My father didn't answer. He reached for his water glass and drank from it slowly. My mother said, "Let's not do this at dinner." Marcus said the meal ended 15 minutes later. Todd and Karen left without dessert. My father stayed in his recliner. My mother cleaned the dishes alone. Marcus called me after. "The house felt different," he said. "Sure, your dad looked smaller, like someone took something out of him and didn't put it back." They took something from me first. I know, I'm just telling you what it looked like from the outside. What did it look like? Like a family that realized the quiet one was holding the floor up, and they just found out what it looks like without him. My father called once during those 3 weeks. He said we needed to find a solution as a family. I said the solution was simple. Todd signs the land back and the road opens. He said there has to be another way. I said there isn't. The call lasted 4 minutes. He hung up first. My mother sent one text. "I'm sorry we didn't call you first." First, not, "I'm sorry we did it." She was apologizing for the method, not the act. I didn't reply. 3 weeks after the living room, Todd drove to the county office on a Wednesday morning. Same office his father had used, same counter, probably the same clerk. He signed a quitclaim deed, 1 page. The kind of document that took my name off was the same kind that put it back. I found out from Marcus. Same cousin who told me when the land was taken told me when it was returned. The gravel road opened. Both deeds went in the same folder, together. My father called the following Sunday. His voice was careful, measured. Not the voice from the living room. Not the voice that said, "You're making this up." A smaller voice, a quieter one. The voice of a man who has spent 3 weeks sitting with a mistake he cannot undo. "I didn't know about the 7 acres. I know. Your grandfather never told me. He told the person he wanted to have them." He was quiet for a long time. And I could hear the television in the background at his house. A game. Life continuing around a phone call that felt like it was happening in a separate room from everything else. "I don't understand why he didn't trust me with it." "You signed it away, Dad. The piece he did trust you with. The 3 acres in the will. You took it to the county office and gave it to Todd. That's why he didn't tell you about the 7. He knew." That's a hard thing to hear. So is a text from your cousin telling you your parents are signing your land away while you're in a meeting 1,000 miles from home. That's a hard thing to read. Are we going to be okay, Nate? I don't know yet. Ask me after some time has passed. How much time? More than 3 weeks. The call ended. I set the phone down and looked at the wall for a while. The apartment was quiet. Outside, a car passed on the street. Inside, the trust documents were in their folder on my desk. The plat map was beside them. My grandfather's handwriting was on both. Small, careful, permanent. Months later, on a clear Saturday morning in early October, I drove out to the property. Almost exactly a year since the porch conversation with my grandfather had turned from a memory into a plan. I parked on Maple Road and stepped out of the car. The gravel road started at the shoulder. I walked it slowly, through the 7 acres. The trees were turning, red and orange at the edges. The morning sun came through the branches in long diagonal lines that moved across the ground as the wind shifted. The road was solid under my feet, packed gravel. The sound of each step was sharp and clear in the quiet. And when I walked the full length of the 7 acres, past the creek in the southwest corner, where the water still moved the way it moved when my grandfather walked this same road in 1987, past the property line marker he drove into the ground with a post-hole digger, past the spot where the road curved slightly to avoid a stand of oak trees he didn't want to cut. He built this road with his own hands, on his own land, with his own money. And he told a 17-year-old kid sitting on porch steps with sawdust on his jeans that someday this road would matter. And the kid listened. I came out of the 7 acres and onto the 3-acre lot. The fence, the barn, the field, the open ground where Todd had imagined 2 rental units and $2,400 a month in income, and a future built on a gift he helped arrange and receive without earning. And I stood in the middle of the field. The barn was behind me. The 7 acres were in front of me. Both pieces of the same inheritance. One visible, one hidden, one stolen and returned. One never touched because nobody knew it existed. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the folder. Both deeds inside. I almost opened it. I almost read his signature one more time. But I didn't need to. Both deeds. Same folder. Where they belong. Just not the way my family thought they'd end up there. Thanks for staying until the end. If this one hit something, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.